Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Ultimate Canada fans across the country. We are bringing you the Canadian Ultimate Championships live from Edmonton, Alberta. This is the Junior Open Division presented by Cliff Bar. I'm Kevin Underhill in the booth with Clay Howlett, bringing you the Junior Open Final. Eclipse in black from BC. Ottawa Ignite in white. Clay, both these teams, great runs here to the final. Talk a little bit about this Ignite squad. Saw them on the stream yesterday. A top-performing team, favor the deep ball, and they're using their athleticism. They were able to upset #1 seed and reigning champ Toro in the semifinals. Maybe just talk a little bit about this Ignite team.
So, I talk about the semifinals. So this morning in that semi, Ignite was able to get 4 points up on Toro, and after that, the two teams traded for the rest of the game, and were able to hold Toro to time as the game got within 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. But Ignite was able to hold on, which I think shows a lot of heart, especially that Toro is a pretty, a team with a name, and a lot of teams can be intimidated by that. But Ignite yesterday showed a lot of heart, and today in their semifinal did the same thing once again, getting that lead and never giving up against these really high-quality teams.
Yeah, absolutely, and the other semifinal with Eclipse taking down Mofo, just like you said, got the lead, maintained the lead, took it all the way through the game. So pretty impressive stuff from both teams to get here before. Ottawa, first time they've been in the finals since the split to single gender. So they're riding that high. And BC's Eclipse back in the final after hiatus for a few years as well. So we're going to have a new champion on our in this tournament, as the last 4 years have been Mofo or Toro. So can't wait to get this underway. Looks like Ottawa will be pulling from left to right on your screen, going slightly upwind, and that's Eclipse set to receive.
Conditions right now are pretty gusty. If you can take a peek at those Discraft flags, you can see that the wind is going somewhat across the field right now. We kind of have our backs to it, and it's pushing towards the bleachers, so we're off.
Huge first pull is going to hang up in that wind. It's going to land in bounds just around the brick mark, just past. Beautiful leafing pull allows this Ottawa zone to set up right away.
Psych looks like they went to man. Just came down in a zone look.
Disc in the middle of the field. Vijay Retnam now. Moving it upfield. Wilson Lung. Lung to Vijay Retman. Justin Tung, rather, with the disc now. Onto the far side. DeBrew. Neo DeBrew with it. Looking for Tung in the middle. Swung nicely around. Tung has it. Looking for DeBrew. Instead has Lamb. Goes back to DeBrew. Nice and safe here. Lung with it. It's number 9, Wilson Lung. Looking upfield. Now in an end zone set. Patiently moves it to the middle. It's Vijay Retman. Inside shot. And a quick goal here. Immediate strike. Nice confident end zone set there, Clay, and Eclipse takes the first lead of the game. They lead 1-0 holding on offense, heading downwind there.
Now you can see right there, they've got some pretty feature handlers. Tung earlier we saw was a constant center point for the disc and Eclipse offense, but even right there as you went up the line quickly, the handlers were smart to just not take those risky shots and just kept the disc alive, valued it, swung it around. And we saw some of that pretty disciplined play earlier from Eclipse's defense, and now we're seeing some pretty disciplined offense. Hopefully they hold on to for their sake, they'll have to hold on to that for the end of the game, for the rest of the game. As earlier we saw a Huck game that wasn't exactly successful.
If you're just joining us, this is the Canadian Ultimate Championship Junior Open Final presented by Cliff Bar. This is the VC Showcase Field at Ivor Dent Sports Park. Clay, we've taken in the junior competition for the last 3 days, 3.5 days, and it's been an incredible show. And in this junior open division, 2 worthy adversaries in the final. This is Ottawa and Eclipse from BC. So Ignite get a chance to look at this Ottawa O-line in action for the first time. You see some of the feature pieces there. Ian Wallace, Johnny LaFontaine, of course, the big fella Lawson Nadeau patrolling the skies. So we'll have to see how they come out. Their first final in club history, so see if there's a little bit of early nerves here. That disc is going to sail out of bounds. See if there's going to be some zone. Definitely windier than it was this morning during the semifinal between Eclipse and Mofo that we watched. This is Ian Wallace, the disc in the middle of the field for Ottawa. First O point of the game. Johnny LaFontaine cutting out of the stack, and Nadeau. Disc to the close side, Peterson. Hits LaFontaine. LaFontaine with targets downfield, a little bit too deep, and he's going to jack it anyway. Hangs up for Nadeau, going over the top, not good enough. Carpenter in the area, nice defensive play there. We saw Thomas Carpenter patrolling the deep position for this, and he's going to shoot right away. And that one's got legs. Beautiful throw.
To you.
GU there on the reception from Thomas Carpenter's upwind flick huck. Now there's time and space. Choi with it. Choi to you. GU looking upfield, trying to crash in this upwind break. Patience for Choi. Looks off his receiver. Has GU. He's going to jump it in. Ruled not in. Johnny LaFontaine asking him to go back to where he left off. This will be a short discussion, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Once again, though, we're seeing Eclipse elect for the safer rounds or safe dumps rather than trying punching it in to a just open receiver, which very smart on their part.
Carpenter scrambling to get open at the front of the stack. Instead, a little quick dish, and it's a turnover. Good pressure there by Ignite. Jason Ewan there. Discussion about a potential foul, but it doesn't appear that he actually called it, just a discussion. And now it is looking like a formal foul call by Ewan there.
Some contact on the back. That's tough, though. The defender didn't make contact with the disc, and it did seem to go in and out of Ewan's fingers there, but it's hard to say if that contact on Ewan's back caused him to bobble it. And if it did, that would be a legit foul call. So
definitely a high stall count situation. There's, I believe it was GU. It's at the front of the stack, and just a tiny little 1-yard dish for the goal. But it was in and out of the hands of Ewan. Tough to see if the contact initiated there happened before. Definitely wasn't an unsafe play. Looks like it's going to go and be a contested foul.
So you will have the disc on the goal line.
Observer Dominic St. Jacques there with the call. So it is going to come back likely at stall 6, as that's a contested foul, can only come in at 6 as the highest. An Eclipse knocking on the doorstep of an upwind break to kick off this game. Currently leading 1-0 over Ottawa's Ignite. GU asking for space. Disc coming in at 3, it looks like. Tapped in by LaFontaine. A lot of space, hangs it up. Carpenter rips it out of the air for the goal. Number 23, Thomas Carpenter. First break of the game and the kick spike to boot. And Ottawa showing some early nerves there. So you see the emergence of Thomas Carpenter, who had the big block and then the catch for the goal. Double happiness for the young man out of Vancouver. Eclipse leads 2-0. And Clay, you know, the point looked actually pretty good, but Johnny LaFontaine had his target. Lawson Nadeau that they've been shooting deep to all game, but it might have just been a little late as Nadeau was deep, a little too deep for that look, and maybe just eager to get on the board early, but instead suffers the first break of the game.
I would say too late too. You always want to, when you're throwing a huck as a handler, I find that you want to lead not only the player on offense but the player on defense. If you can catch the defense looking at the mark or looking at their receiver while that receiver strikes deep, it's much harder to get a read on that disc and make a defensive play. And there LaFontaine was quite deep, and Carpenter was just able to immediately turn around, get his own set, get his own position, and make it a lot easier. So we've seen Ignite just laser it. They're fully capable of hitting these big, long hucks and everything like that. But with this wind, you know, we got to take into account that a lot of those discs are going to get floaty. So strikes that are a little too deep or a little too late are going to be highly contested.
Carpenter set to pull here for Eclipse, going downwind. Hangs a big outside in. That's going to come drifting back into play. Beautiful pull. Bouncing just around the end zone line and escaping to the side. Heavy coverage there. Wallace dashing up line and getting it. Now Wallace airs it out. That's got some legs. Dion Paul in the area trying to track that down. And that's going to go out the side of the end zone there, and it's going to be tapped in on the cone. Maybe just a little eager there from Wallace. Saw his big target. Paul heading deep.
Good look, though. We saw a lot of consistency and focus from Paul yesterday. Definitely a player that Ignite's going to look to put the disc in his hands often.
Carpenter with the disc now. Splashes it to the middle. Gunaskera with it now. Gunaskera looking for Carpenter in the middle of their end zone. Gunaskera with it. He's going to air it out. That's got some legs. Nice shot right on the rope to GU. CU emerging as a deep striker, and just a little bit of a unfortunate play there. That was Jason Ewan as he came through. That's a drop. Now Ignite generating a little offense of their own. Wallace looking upfield. Wants some undercuts. Sees Paul. Bidding defender. Paul grabs it. Now he's got his target up line. Instead, opts for Wallace. Wallace goes up line. Calls a foul there on GU, who is bidding, lunged through Wallace there. Looks like Wallace said he had possession, or at least there was some contact on his arm.
Yeah, I'd have to say the contact against his left side there was definitely the foul. You making no argument with that, even if he touched the disc with his hands.
Wallace into the backfield. Peterson. This is Tynan Peterson with the disc.
Looks like we have a pick call.
He's got Jack Murray on the far side, Wallace on the close side, and a deep stack set by Paul. Peterson hits Wallace. Wallace asking for something. He has Paul. Instead, he's looking for Murray. Beautiful little high release shot there to Peterson. Peterson goes inside to Paul. Paul fakes around. Now hits an open target at the front of the stack. Kennedy laying out his Nadeau and cashes in. That's a huge upwind point. Can sometimes nullify that upwind break if they can combine this with a downwinder. And you see Ignite is fired up for their first goal of this finals. It is 2-1 now. Eclipse leads Ottawa Ignite. And Clay, Ottawa, despite a couple of turnovers, makes it happen and cashes in on the upwind side.
Yeah, and you see that big layout from Nadeau. Layouts like that, catches like that when you're down can really get your team fired up, especially this early. So I think Nadeau's, talent there is going to put Ignite right back in this game, even if they were ever out. But definitely in it now, thanks to Nadeau getting that high spirits up, high excitement for his team.
Yeah, you see them sharing the disc there, too, around the end zone, which I like to see. Cameron Kennedy getting involved. Of course, Dion Paul off the top of the stack. Ian Wallace, sort of that field general. We find that we've been seeing teams that share the disc around the end zone, show that discipline in the end zone set. They're the ones that have the most success, and the ones that stick to one or two players and just try to jam it in, they're the ones that have shown obviously less success at this point. So, and Clay, as the crowd starts to stream in here at this VC Showcase field to watch this Junior Open final, the atmosphere has been amazing all week, and you get to see some of the adult players and all the other junior players that are finishing their games. The adults are rolling in for tomorrow's action. This should be a thrilling final day, kicked off here by the Junior Open final and then the Junior Women's final right afterwards. Now we get a look at this Eclipse offensive unit. Quick turnover there. Lung was lunging for it. Take a look here, and Ignite has a chance to punch in and break and just sort of get right back on even footing.
Could be that nullifier.
Martin Gallant with it now. Gallant looking to LaFontaine, hanging up. Traffic in position where he's trying to read the defenders off the stack, read his own defender, and trying to find the disc. So certainly, no fault of his own, but trying to make a play on it, but squished between two Eclipse players. At this point, I don't think that's a foul.
Yeah, it's a really hard call, and I'm sort of 50-50 on it. It depends on how hard the contact is, what angle it's coming at, and everything like that. But if it's just one aired out where everybody's sort of stopped and jostles a little bit for that same position, I try not to call those ones.
Yeah, and it looks like LaFontaine's foul call is going to be upheld, so he's going to have it at the front of the end zone there. Colin Medill with a great view of that one, the observer. Looking for Gallant, takes it, and cashes in. Ignite right back on even footing, Clay.
Yeah, so that nullifier you were talking about, Kevin, just right away, Ignite is back in it. That big upwind, or I'd say more difficult direction right now with this crosswind, made that break a lot easier, and now we're at a tie game, 2-2.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say for our viewers, if you're not checking my Twitter, I mean, come on. But earlier games we had our semifinal, or our bronze medal games, where Toro defeated Mofo. So Toronto's Toro is going to take the bronze medal today in the Junior Open, and in the Junior Women's, Vortex commanded a pretty heavy lead over Wicked this afternoon and held on that to the end. So BC's Vortex earned the bronze medal in the Junior Women's division.
Yeah, congratulations to all medalists so far. Of course, we've got 2 medals to give out yet in each division, Clay. And right now, this game is on serve with Ottawa pulling upwind here to this Eclipse offensive unit. Big pull from Kennedy there. Drifting over half, carrying, protected by the window. Little beautiful pull all the way to the goal line. Zone defense here brought by Ignite. Disc in the backfield. Swung around to the far sideline. Samuel Lamb up to Tongue. Tongue shooting to DeBrew. DeBrew now with a little bit of time, back to Tongue in the middle. Justin Tongue here, acting as that center handler for Eclipse. Has the target upfield, goes for the upline, nice shot there, Austin Yen. And Yen airs it out. Gallant in the area and picked off there, Ryan. Vijay Aretnam climbing the ladder and stabbing that one for the goal. Exciting action here, Clay. These players are really here to play. Great grab there by Vijay Aretnam.
An exciting grab. I'm going to talk about the boring thing, though, and that was at the beginning of that point, you saw Ignite coming down with his own defense. Eclipse demonstrated in their semifinal game today that they are more than happy to play zone offense with really quick movement with their handlers and through the cup. And on that point, I think Ignite had that zone look for 5 or 6 throws and then melted to person right away as Eclipse just got that disc moving and didn't seem phased at all by that zone look.
No, and we, just like you said, we saw that earlier. We saw the give go. We saw the quick disc movement. And then, of course, hitting, I believe that was number 21, Austin Yen, for that slash cut. He aired it out. Gallant getting in there to challenge Vijay Aretman. But just a beautiful grab there as he climbed up and stabbed it with one hand for the goal. 3-2 now. Eclipse leads Ottawa. This game is on serve. If you're just tuning in, we're at the Canadian Ultimate Championships live in Edmonton, Alberta. This is the Junior Open Division Final presented by Cliff Bar on the VC Showcase Field at the Ivor Dent Sports Park. A beautiful setting for this tournament. Onside pull, an absolute rip by Thomas Carpenter. The disc is going to be centered to Wallace. Wallace with time and space. Moving it upfield, Jack Murray. So there's a discussion, maybe a pick called in the stack set.
Luna catching up. Perhaps thought his check would have got the disc, but definitely couldn't get a mark on.
Now it's Murray. Traffic. Murray going into the backfield, Wallace. Wallace sees Kennedy downfield, doesn't shoot, instead goes under to Nadeau. That one hangs up, and that one's received by Kennedy there. Took some contact in the second effort. Looks like it's going to be no contest. Cameron Kennedy's going to hang on to this one.
You saw Kennedy as a big shooter yesterday.
Murray with it now. Jack Murray looking upfield. Going to Wallace inside. Beautiful little shot there. Looking for Nadeau. Shimmy shake trying to get open. A lot of players in the backfield. Under. Good release cut there from the top of the stack. Kennedy working hard. Little short pass there. Ross looking upfield, goes up line to Kennedy, cashes in, not the most, a little bit of a busy end zone set there, but a lot of patience, and Ignite punches it in. Tie game 3-3.
So this win just got some questions just about the weather. As I mentioned earlier, this wind is moving across the field from the sideline we are on towards the crowd. It shifts a little bit sometimes, blowing from the right to the left of your screen. Sometimes there's nothing, and sometimes it is pushing our tent over. So
unpredictable as always out in the prairies, and we've had a little bit of everything. We've had rain, we've had heavy winds, and we've had stunning weather. So expect nothing else was this as we turn the corner to Thursday and get into our adult action tomorrow, Clay. Again, if you're just tuning in, the Canadian Ultimate Championships runs from last Sunday all the way through to the coming Sunday, with the junior division taking us through to today. This is the Junior Boys Open Final, and adult starts tomorrow, ends on Sunday as well. So exciting action from Edmonton, Alberta. Right now it's all about this Junior Open Final between Ignite in Eclipse. Ignite from Ottawa in white pulling. Eclipse receiving. 3-3 is the score, and the pull is up. Drifting past the brick, another hanger. Beautiful pull. 2 Eclipse players under it. Austin Yen's just going to leave it, and he's going to throw right away. DeBrew deep with Gallant chasing. Undersized, and DeBrew, beautiful grab, lands right on the line. Has a target down there and cashes into Lung. Straight shot right to the end zone, and some of those hucks we saw not working earlier worked this time. And that's a beautiful throw there from Austin 10. And that was Logan Keeler in hot pursuit. Just a little undersized there, but of course, great effort to get in there and make DeBrew have to actually go up and get that at his high point.
Yeah, absolutely. But just with the pull, with that huck, once again, we're seeing these throws lofting. But DeBrew right off the bat there turned around and burned and paid off for Eclipse. We saw DeBrew go down with an injury earlier, but obviously he's here to play. He's fine. Showing us that real speed to get down to the end zone there.
Eclipse leads 4-3 now. Pretty energetic start to this junior boys final, Clay. Lots of energy on both sides. A break apiece at this point, so they're sitting on serve. Definitely easier to score in the end zone to the left, the one Eclipse is standing in right now. That's the bingo, and the team that's going to score in this upwind end zone is the one that's going to get the early advantage. So, at this point, wind definitely playing a factor.
But both teams showing a lot of confidence in the win. Looking at the sideline and looking out on the field, everyone's here to play. No one seems too tentative, and both teams aren't afraid to just do what they know how to do with the wind here. Pull out of bounds.
Clay, in my experience with games like this, the longer it stays tight, the more it favors the underdog, and through the seeding and everything we've seen, Ignite feels like an underdog. Maybe not overwhelming at all, as we see this game pretty even at this point. But
never letting that doubt take seed, right?
Absolutely, And I think if you're Eclipse, feeling like the favorite, if you're going to try to get that early lead and really step on it, you can bury a team. But that being said, Ignite not going away, going toe-to-toe with the big dogs from Vancouver. So great to see that. Right now, Eclipse leads 4-3. And the disc is in the hands of Cameron Kennedy on the far sideline there for Ignite. It's like a person-to-person set here for Eclipse. Justin Luna on the mark. Luna taps it in. Kennedy looking upfield. Airs it out. That one's got a lot under it. 6 players underneath it. Dion Paul goes up and pulls it down. He's going to call a foul immediately there as he had his whole hand on it, and when he came down, it looked like it was knocked away.
Again, another tough call. Like all of these, I think it's going to come down just to a case-by-case basis.
And I think that was Carpenter and Gunaskera both in the area on D. Nadeau and Paul, 4 of them, some of the bigger players on the field going up together for that one. It did look to me like Paul had his hand on it, but Colin Medill, observer, had a great view again and rules no foul. So it will be Eclipse's disc.
You saw Kennedy make that hawk. Kennedy made lots of shots like that yesterday. They weren't, the stats didn't do them any favors. There were a lot of turnovers just thanks to hanging in the wind. So I wonder if we're going to see an adjustment here as we see another one of those throws.
Eclipse D-line working on O here. That's a punt under pressure. Foul calls. The disc drifts into the crowd. Excited fans.
No one catches it.
Souvenir for home there, Clay.
No one caught it. It's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, sending it back. Discussion on the throw there between Paul, number 17, Justin Tung. What was your take on that one there?
It went out of bounds right away, but with the wind pushing in that direction, wasn't too surprised to see a late stall count backhand huck with this crosswind quickly go out like that. His step out was pretty forward, so it might have been hard in his follow through to get that disc to get that little bit of extra placement or right edge on it. So, but looks like they're still discussing it.
We've talked about this quite a bit this week, that the observers getting involved in an educational capacity as well as a rules enforcement capacity, Clay.
Yeah. But there they just decide to contest, don't go to observer.
Eclipse working it up. Carpenter with the disc now. Carpenter looking for Luna. Instead, airs it out. Has his target in the area, and that's just going to drift too far. Two receivers there, Tongue and...
Yeah, the wind getting underneath the disc there and just pushing it across.
Wallace hits Kennedy in the middle now. Kennedy upfield to Peterson. Wallace now with it. A little stagnant in the cutter motion. Peterson faking, going into the backfield.
Luna got a piece of that.
Simovic with it. Looking for Peterson. Wallace. Wallace back to Peterson. Peterson sharp under to Paul. Two hands on it. Beautiful grab. Paul looking upfield. Instead goes back to Wallace. Wallace asking for something. Simovic. Nice grab on the far side by Kennedy. Kennedy looking upfield. That sideline's proven to be pretty difficult. A couple of shimmy shakes and an upline there from Peterson. Well done. Peterson to Kennedy. Kennedy upline. Picked off there by the Eclipse defender. Maybe a miscommunication between Paul, as he thought Paul was going upline. And instead, Luna had other ideas. Man, that one never came back in, despite the bidding offender.
Yeah, you saw Gunaskara put his hands on his face right away. He knew. He just, unfortunately, for him, kept too hard of an edge on that throw.
Wallace with the disc. Inside the brick here. Hangs it up over the stack. Lots of people in the area. Hangs over everyone. And a completed goal there. Again, not the prettiest goal for Ignite, but they'll take it as the back of the stack cashes in. Beautiful play there by, it's tough to see who that was. We'll get you their name in just a sec, but hanging around in the back of the end zone, just waiting to trash collect a little bit.
I'm wondering.
That was number 36, Philip Asimovic, at the back of the stack there.
I'm wondering, Kev, if the coaches down for Ignite are having a discussion with their players or amongst themselves about these riskier shots. I was talking to Sebastian Lebrecq earlier, one of the coaches for Ignite, and I asked him in the semifinal if there were any emergent heroes or what sort of depth they have, and he said that it's a whole team game for his team, and they often say you don't win your one-on-one matchups on the field, but otherwise, you live and die as a team here. So I'm wondering if they're going to rely on some players heavily this game. If I'm looking at it, I'm loving Dion Paul. I think if you're Ignite, you put the disc in his hands more often. He's got just this cool, calming focus in it. He's got really strong undercuts, and his throws have just been on point.
Yeah, and he doesn't try to do too much, which I like. He's been a steady release valve on the under. Despite his big size, that he could be a deep striker, he's maybe getting a little over-respected by the Eclipse defenders, and he's getting those big unders when they need them the most. So I look for him to continue to be featured. It's number 21, Austin Yen now. Bringing the disc into the middle. Flanked by Ma and Leung.
Zone.
Busser there as well, giving options. Now it's Lung. Lung looking for DeBrew. Instead, cut off nicely by this cup. Back to the middle, Yen. Yen. Lamb.
Once again, we're seeing Eclipse not really threatened by zones. Able just to patiently work it around and through.
Ma with it now. Through to Busser. Yen. Yen looking over the top. Instead, right up the middle. Beautiful play there to Ma. Ryan Ma. Looking for the backfield. Yen. Austin Yen with it. Goes inside. Great defensive play there. Big bid by LaFontaine. Disrupts just enough to force the turn there. So Ryan Vijay bidding for that one as well, but LaFontaine either got just enough or just enough pressure there. He'll quickly pick up, and Eclipse sets that zone that we saw in the last game too.
Yeah, we've been seeing Eclipse totally willing to set a zone even with their O-line.
And it works immediately, and a quick goal there Eclipse capitalizing, setting the zone, generating the turn, and throwing in the quick goal there. They lead 5-4 in this Junior Open final.
Versatility pays off. If your O-line is comfortable to set into a defense that can take advantage of the weather like it is right now with this high wind and generate quick turnovers like that, you can stop the bleeding very quickly. So well done by Eclipse there to quickly get into that zone defense and generate an immediate turnover.
Eclipse coaching staff, David Stelk, Michael Fung, Alex Lamb, obviously doing a good job with this unit, guiding them through to a finals appearance. Eclipse was in the finals last year as well, came out on the losing end to Toro, so no doubt some of these players, coaching staff, looking for a little bit of redemption here, and they have an opportunity with the lead here, taking it to Ottawa. Ignite, not backing down at all. This game remains on serve, 5-4, great opportunity here, and with the last 4 titles going to Toro or Mofo, it's just going to be interesting to see a different team on top of the podium this time, Clay.
Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about that. But anyway, you are absolutely right. It will be interesting to see a different team on the podium.
Eclipse set to pull, Carpenter with the disc, gearing it up. Beautiful rip. Fielded by Peterson. Wallace in the middle now. Wallace. They melt out of their vertical stack. Kennedy with it now. Kennedy to Wallace. Great movement there. Want something over the top. Instead, looks to flip to Kennedy. Goes into the backfield and just there. Peterson reaching back, can't get it. Eclipse looking to fast break immediately and calls a timeout. Probably a wise call there. I like to look for the fast break, but it only had one target downfield and it wasn't really an option there. I don't mind the timeout call. Get a set play, see what they can do about it, Clay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was almost of the mind there that Gunaskara picked up the disc and then realized I only have one person to throw to. And
they were covered.
Whoops. So and called that timeout immediately. So really smart decision by him. So you never want to. The running gun isn't so bad, but when there's coverage down there and everything like that, that if you don't have a sure shot right away, sometimes picking up the disc that quick can leave you very stranded. So a really smart decision by Gunaskara to call that timeout.
Yeah, and you know what? I myself, plenty advocate of the fast break if you can make it happen. As we saw earlier in the week, Toro, the masters of the fast break and really deflating Vortex in that showcase game we saw. But at the same time, you have to know when to fold them, and you see there Gunaskara picks it up, looking for the fast break, covered, no real options, decides to call the timeout before things get frantic. So I don't mind that call at all.
Yeah. So we're seeing some zone looks now as the wind is getting stronger. It seems that Eclipse so far has had no problem with it, while some turnovers are being generated by the Eclipse defense here when they set their own zone. It looks as if Eclipse is moving the disc quite quickly, and sometimes Ignite, on the other hand, is just holding on to it a little bit longer, which is starting to hurt them.
Yeah, and Clay, the story isn't always about the wind, but we have to mention the conditions, and the wind is definitely picked up. And up here in the media booth, it's as hard as it's been all week, really. So, despite these players playing a pretty clean game so far, the wind is playing a factor and definitely protecting this upwind end zone that Eclipse is knocking on right now. Gunaskara getting it tapped in by Kennedy. Looks directly isolation for Carpenter, instead goes tongue up line. Call in the stack, it looks like.
It's between Parker and Wallace there. A lot of contact on that cut.
Carpenter, I think, was just isolated at the top. They gave him a few stall counts to try to get open. Wallace playing some shutdown defense there, pretty impressive. And then Justin Tongue, zapped up line was available, but the call was happening at the same time.
Yeah, play it stopped, so.
See if Peterson can get a second chance there to stop the up line. Disc will be tapped in. Gunaskara with the disc. Cameron Kennedy on the mark. Tongue, shut down.
GU.
Back to GU. GU to the close side, Wesley Wong. Wong with his first touches of the game. Looking into the backfield, Carpenter. Release valve there. Carpenter looking upfield, going for Gunaskara, laying out, can't quite get there. Great effort there by Gunaskara as he was diving for that Carpenter offering.
A little uncharacteristic of Eclipse in this game so far. We've seen those shots in their red zone. Looked off and often swung around, but Gunnaskera was open.
Ian Walsett with now. High release shots in the middle to Kennedy. Kennedy.
See this O-line falling back into this, or this D-line that is falling back into the zone.
Peterson. Wallace. Looking for Kennedy around. Only 3 Ignite players in the area of the disc, and that's going to make it very challenging. Patient there by Wallace. And Kennedy just punts it, looking for Lawson Nadeau. As it goes just a bit out of reach, touched his fingertips. Kind of seemed like Kennedy just wanted to get that disc out of there. They were certainly under pressure, but a lack of patience there, and he just boosted it deep, and Nadeau almost made a hero grab off his fingertips, but it's too much pressure there from Carpenter. The disc sailed too far.
Carpenter made him think about staying where he was or going deep just long enough so it was out of his reach.
Tongue with it. Looking in the backfield. Instead sees Carpenter striking deep. Under from Gunnaskera. GU with it now. U looking for Carpenter. Nice cut in the midfield. Big yards. Looks like there might be a travel call. Carpenter airs it out anyway. And this is going to come back no matter what.
Crowd reacting to that wonderful strike. Half the sideline reacting to that wonderful strike. Wonderful throw.
There was a call right away on the underthrown to Carpenter. So regardless if it is in fact a travel, it is coming back. Kennedy was pretty quick on the draw there as GU snapped that forehand up to Carpenter. Going to be a little bit of discussion. And regardless of the result of this call, this is coming back.
Even if the observers ruled that there was no travel, if you're not familiar with the continuation rule, it's one throw after the call, and any subsequent throws will not matter whether they're goals or turnovers. So as you put that to Carpenter, since the call was on that first throw, anything Carpenter did after that, after his catch, would not matter.
A great matchup here so far on serve, 5-4. Eclipse with a chance to break going upwind here, and boy, would that ever be big, Clay.
That would be huge. We've only seen the 2-point lead at the very beginning of this game. Right now, the game's within 1. This would be, as you say, a break for Eclipse if they can pull it off.
GU now moving it into the backfield. Shot upfield. Wesley Wong with it. Oh, beautiful cut from you. Or sorry. Yeah, you. Long yards and floats that one out. And Gunnaskera tracks that one down, and that one's going to count.
Yep.
Doesn't look like there's a travel call on that one. And GU bends the backhand around after the nice undercut. And Gunnaskera, second time's the charm, Clay, cashing in. Eclipse with the upwind break, taking the early advantage, 6-4, accelerating into a 2-goal lead.
Now, earlier what we saw at this very position at the beginning of the game, Eclipse went up 2-0 with a goal on the, let's call it the downwind side, and then the upwind side here. And then Ignite responded with a quick upwind point and break of their own to get the game back to tied. So we know Ignite is capable of being in this position and marching it back. So let's see how mentally they respond here, because we know they have the fundamentals, but they just got to believe, stay focused, and get it done.
Yeah, at this point, this downwinder, is equally as big for Eclipse, because they already showed earlier in the game that they couldn't consolidate that upwind break.
Yep.
And I think, no doubt they've got a strong defensive-minded unit out there. But, Ignite forced backs against the wall here, forced to go upwind for some, for a clutch goal. Carpenter set to pull. Carpenter. Big OI. That one's going to fly in at the front of the end zone. Bounce. Fielded by Gallant. Kennedy hangs one up. Leader. Keeler to Kennedy. Kennedy, no real options. Goes over the top. LaFontaine instead. Fielded there nicely. Maxim Ayed. Ayed with it. Flips it. LaFontaine thinking about it. Looking for Ayed. No real options. Blade over the top. That's going to hang into space. Defended well there. Carpenter taking no risks, going up early and making sure no one has a play on that. LaFontaine really just had eyes for the end zone, never really even thought about getting that one to the middle. Clay, I think maybe their lack of patience, but otherwise just good movement by Ottawa to get it all the way up right to the brick.
Yeah. We've seen that pattern, though, in the red zone here of getting eyes for one receiver or just going for a high stall count floaty over the top. Ignite's going to do well to start swinging that disc and moving more often in the red zone.
Justin Tongue going deep and into traffic. Nadeau was there. Discussion on the reception there. It looks like Eclipse is calling a foul. And again, that's one of those ones where the throw didn't go quite as far as they intended, and coming back under was the Eclipse player. We'll find out who that was, and just Nadeau trying to make a play. I've been wrong. I've been 0 for 2 in all my predictions here, but it did not look like a foul to me, Clay.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. Let's see how you do.
Gunaskera getting involved in the discussion. I believe that's Jason Ewan 88 on the far sideline, making the call against Nadeau.
I think he's arguing that he could have had the catch, but Nadeau's layout pushed his own hand down, so he wasn't able to make the reception.
It's going to be a foul contest, so maybe not. Maybe I'm not wrong, but an offer still.
Well, I'd say you're half right. So we've got a foul contest. They did not go to the observer, so we'll never know.
I'll take it.
Yep.
I've always been a half full type of guy anyway. It's going to come back here. Justin Tongue with the disc. I would not be surprised to see another deep shot. Tongue
has been a deep shooter.
And strategically, going the full 70 upwind has been challenging. So if they do have a target in the area and like the shot at all, it should be coming up at this point, I imagine, for Eclipse.
Yeah.
Tongue with it. Carpenter looking upfield. Blast one through. That one's going to hang up, and Nadeau isolated there for the block. Keeler. Kennedy looking upfield. Beautiful throw there to LaFontaine. LaFontaine targets in the area. Wants something over the top, and again, just sort of stationary, not looking. And he goes bail this time to Kennedy. Kennedy goes upfield, and that's going to cash in for a goal. It's like that's number 50, Benjamin Goodrich McLean. Apologies earlier. He would have been the one with the block on his own there, and cashes in for the goal.
Yeah, and it looks like Eclipse just lost him a little bit there in the end zone. And
clutch upwind goal by Ignite again, Clay.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're seeing. You said that Eclipse is going to have to use that big upwind point they get and then sort of start pushing Ignite down with some downwind points here. But Ignite mentally responding again, just saying we're not going to get put in this 3-point deficit. So our game's back within 1, 6-5 for Eclipse.
Clay, this seems like as good a time as any to shout out to some of our sponsors. Of course, Discraft, the official disc partner of Ultimate Canada. Cliff Bar, sponsoring this Junior Open Final. Official nutrition partner for CUC 2019. Of course, some of our other funding partners, City of Edmonton, Edmonton Tourism, and the Government of Alberta, allowing for this amazing event to happen on their soil, and just a terrific event. And then, of course, how can we forget our bleacher sponsor, Quick Sit Mobile, setting up that awesome silver bleachers on the far side, as you see, pretty much jam-packed at this point. The hill on the far side full too. Easily 150, maybe 200 people taking in this junior boys final. A great setting for a championship. And right now, we have an absolute thriller on our hands as Eclipse is stuck in the back of their end zone, leading 6-5 over Ignite.
Scary place to be with this wind and his own defense.
Lung with it.
Some good poise from Eclipse here, though, showing they're still not afraid of any zone they see.
Austin Yen snaps one through the middle, through two sets of hands there. Number 25, Ryan Ma, and number 9, Wilson Lung, both diving for that one. And again, a short field here for Ian Wallace and co. See if they can bring this Ignite team back to even once again. LaFontaine cuts a blind, nothing there. Wallace looking inside instead, goes to Kennedy. Kennedy looking for Wallace. Has Paul coming out the top. Dion Paul, 2 hands on the disc, nice and steady. Back to Kennedy. Looks like that's Gallant. Martin Gallant with it. Wind really kicking up now. 6-5 Eclipse. Ignite with the disc. This is Martin Gallant with it.
believe they called timeout, and they're just working out the stall count. Yeah, timeout Ignite.
Not a bad call with 2 per half here in the Junior Open Final. I don't mind that. They're right in a money spot to get the goal, and they're going to take their time, make sure they get this right. Again, thank you so much to all of our funding sponsors and then participating partners for helping make this event so amazing, such a successful event. And of course, how can we forget our photographer unit, Jeff Bell, Nathan Kolakovic, for capturing the action this week. Both have been on site, and I'm sure you'll see their amazing photos on the Ultimate Canada Facebook galleries, Instagram galleries. Top-notch stuff from 2 of the best in the biz.
Can I just say, Nathan had to get an emergency root canal the night before he started putting up highlight videos and photos. So what a trooper.
Yeah, an absolute warrior. We were talking about that. Saw him in the hotel on day 1, and he looked miserable after getting the surgery. Obviously looks a lot better, and has been out here grinding through that less than ideal conditions for him. But he obviously loves it, and we definitely appreciate him. He does a great job. Got Martin Gallant with the disc. Deep vertical set. Wide to handler bail as Ian Wallace, covered by Justin Lung. See what Ignite has up their sleeve here.
Get on the board here, Kev. What's going to happen?
Austin Yen on the mark. I think Wallace should be isolated, making the first move. Sure enough, there he goes. Ian Wallace asks for it, gets it, has a break throw option instead. Goes back to Gallant, who goes up line. A nice little switch there from Yen and Lung. Kennedy up line, goal. Cashes in. Ignite with a beautiful handler set motion there, and Wallace, his first goal of the game. Beautiful play there. Kennedy popping out, taking advantage of the poach, and hitting Wallace for the goal. Ignite draws even again. This plucky bunch from Ottawa will not go away, Clay.
Yeah, same course of events as earlier. Eclipse ran the disc upfield, upwind, and had a chance to take a 3-point lead, and Ignite just responded with a hold and a break of their own downwind, and we are back to square one, as they say. So Ignite showing some real mental strength here.
Scoreline 6-6, Ottawa, BC. Right now, in the Junior Open Final presented by Cliff Bar. An absolute thriller of a matchup. The fans on the hillside could not have asked for a better game as this starts to heat up heading into the final minutes of the first half. They will take a hard half after this next point because it is 45 minutes plus 1 point. So no matter what, I believe set has changed for finals. So we've seen a lot of that with the windy conditions. The game's going a little bit slower.
Yep.
Points are a little less available, I suppose, and see if Eclipse can work it downwind for their hold.
Zone look once again.
Justin Tung goes through the middle. Lost footing, diving for that one. Just can't quite bring it in. That was number 42, Samuel Lamb, diving for that one. Ignite a chance to go upwind from their own brick, trying to cash this one in. Peterson now in the middle of the field. Peterson with it. Looking upfield, sees Paul. Instead, it's sort of a poachy person defense here. Peterson trying to figure it out. Go back to Wallace, and Wallace just a casual drop there, already thinking about the next throw. He choked at himself for that one. Austin Yen set to pick up. Has Lung streaking up line. Instead, looks for Tung. Hits Lamb off the top of the stack. Rather, number 87, Dubrew. Dubrew going in. Bending up. And off the hands of Ryan Vijay Aretnam.
Just in the strongest gust of wind we felt this game.
That's Vijay Aretnam there. Had a chance to toe the line, just couldn't really make it happen. Ian Wallace is going to pick it up in Coffin Corner here, Clay. A challenging place to work the disc from,
Absolutely.
Especially against the zone. Goes back to Peterson, swings it around to the far side. Murray. Beautiful little up line. Snaps it around Paul. Paul thinks better of it. Big fake sequence. Gets the disc to the middle. Peterson. Wallace, one hand, elevates for that one. Looking upfield, instead goes to Peterson. Patient set here from Ignite, as we've seen. And that one just spoke a little too soon. Little no-look pass from Peterson gets a gust of wind and pops up over his receiver. Wallace whacked away there by the Eclipse defender, and Eclipse short field, potentially here to take half. Austin Yen here, disc on the short sideline, looking for Tongue, hangs that one up, and that one goes airmail and picked off there. Beautiful play. That's Neo DeBrew climbing over everyone with a one-hand stab. Clay, just a big-time play there from Eclipse, saving another turnover and turning it into a goal. Great grab there.
Yeah, you see that O-line not afraid to throw that zone, and that grab by DeBrew just absolutely elevating. What a fantastic catch.
Looks like that's going to be halftime. To double-check that.
No, I'm not sure. I think both teams are calling lines here.
Yeah, maybe it's an extended round for the championship match, Clay. So right now we're sitting at just over 7 minutes here. 49 minutes and change. 7-6. He's the scorer. Eclipse leads. This game is on serve, Clay. You know, it feels like Eclipse is the one pushing the agenda as they have taken those break leads. We haven't seen Ignite get that break advantage yet. But at the same time, we talked about the longer the game remains tight, the longer it favors the quote-unquote underdog, if you will. And right now, Ignite sticking around and playing a fantastic game in their own right.
Yeah, Ignite is showing a lot of fight right now, and I don't want to say Eclipse isn't, but they're going to have to, raise Ignite here. You just don't want to call. You just don't want to have Ignite having the energy and not going away and just call them on that. You want to re-raise and take it to the next level over top of them.
Both teams hoping to raise that level. Big pull from Carpenter into the back of the end zone, reverse brick. Kennedy with it now in the middle of the field. Hitting his close side target. Jeffrey Liu. Liu to the middle. Peterson. Peterson looking backfield. Instead goes to Dion Paul. Dion Paul for LaFontaine. Just dropped in the wind there, made a diving catch. Johnny LaFontaine here with the disc. Looking for Peterson, a small little dish. Peterson has Liu in the backfield. Takes some contact, snaps a little inside flick, and Kennedy just a little casual with that one, potentially giving a huge opportunity here for this Eclipse defensive unit. Less than the brick to work. LaFontaine on the mark. Tongue with the disc. Airing it up. That one's going to hang and drift out of bounds at the back. Great effort over the top, but he's out of bounds.
Now, let's see how Ignite moves the disc here. I still feel as if the handlers are a little too static. They're a little too wide. They're putting the pressure on the thrower to make a break throw rather than popping in or making the easy throws.
LaFontaine with a huge pump fake. Wants his target over the top. Kennedy. Nice reception there. Certainly a foul in the bid. Looks like that was Wesley Wong coming in on the backside, diving to potentially get a block. It's just a little late to the game, and then tripping over him was Kennedy. Kennedy's going to reset with the disc. Has Paul downfield. Shooting to Paul right away. Carpenter in the way with the block. No real discussion there, just making sure everyone's okay. That one just hung up. Paul didn't really have it play on that as he was trying to track it down. Carpenter had all the position, all the timing.
Yeah, all the momentum coming into that pass.
Justin Tongue, covered by Paul. Looking for something in the middle. GU cutting on the open side. Instead, that disc is just going to get hung up. Blady whacked away by Kennedy.
Eclipse is going to take advantage of this, though. Here comes that zone unit.
Big punt downfield, just hanging out of bounds.
Now, we saw a lot of that from Kennedy yesterday in the semifinal. And here they are in the final. So I'm not sure if Kennedy's been given the green light on that.
Yeah, he probably has, especially as it's a heavy downwind at this point. The old adage, a turnover, way away from your end zone is a lot better than one right by your end zone.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect. But certainly shooting for targets, but a turnover downfield doesn't break anyone's heart with the way the conditions are here. Carpenter looking upfield. He's going to shoot. That one's a nice flat rip out to space. couple of targets in the area, right on the money, cashes in. That is number 28, Tyler Gunaskera, with his second break goal in the upwind end zone. Carpenter throws that one out on a shelf, and a huge upwind break to take half for Eclipse. Clay, just some poise, some calm, and relentless shooting to the end zone for this Eclipse D-line, and finally cash in. Had their target, Gunaskera there, 8-6.
Yeah, Parker's going to feel good about that one. He's been taking that shot a few times, and that flick an absolute dime. So great throw, great read by Gunaskera.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break here and bring you back the second half action from the Junior Open Division Final presented by Cliff Bar. Eclipse from Vancouver takes the halftime lead 8-6. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Ultimate fans across the country, across the world. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Junior Open Final brought to you by Cliff Bar on the VC Showcase Field in Edmonton, Alberta. The Ivor Dent Sports Complex, a beautiful setting here, and the game on the field, even better than that. Right now we have Eclipse from Vancouver taking on Ignite from Ottawa. Eclipse up 8-6 at the turn. Clayton Howlett in the booth with myself, Kevin Underhill. Clay, just a little comment about that first half. Eclipse leading 8-6 and pulling from the downwind zone.
I think we saw a lot of tactical advantage to Eclipse, being able to throw zone whenever they needed to, and when they faced the zone themselves, didn't really struggle against it. Meanwhile, Ignite was having a few problems dealing with Eclipse's zone, especially when they had possession of the disc close to their end zone. The wind definitely played a factor. As you say, the wind isn't the whole game, but it's seemingly getting stronger and stronger as we go here. So we're seeing a lot of passes get pushed into the ground or floated above for big contested catches or just sailing out of bounds.
And we picked this game up in the second half. Ian Wallace, field general for this Ignite offense, playing a little give-go there with Kennedy, now moving the disc. Jack Murray, Wallace hangs one up. Well done. Track down there. Logan Keeler. Keeler looking backfield. Instead goes up to Murray. Murray has Wallace. Wallace looking upfield. Little high release pop pass into the middle. Benjamin Goodrich McLean now. Over to Murray. Murray feeds Wallace. Wallace to Goodrich McLean. Options downfield. Wallace going every other at this point. Heavy winds. This is a tough area. Fakes it. Pumps it around. Nice shot there. Kennedy gets up and gets it. Goodrich McLean. He's going to shoot. That's going to hang up in the wind. Paul in the area. Tracking. Hangs up and over. Just drifts out of bounds.
And that's where we see the wind come into play here. I think without that wind, that's a sure goal for Dion Paul. As he was left alone in the deep there. He's had really sure hands all weekend, but with the wind kicking that up in the air and giving the defenders time to come put pressure on him and then putting it over his head, that's where we're seeing the big differences.
Carpenter here with it. Gunnaskera looking upfield all day. It's under grab there. That's Wesley Wong. Wong to you. You looking upfield. Snaps one in there. Tongue. Justin Tongue playing almost every point for this Eclipse team. Goes into the backfield. Gunnaskera with it now. Tyler Gunnaskera looking upfield. Splashes it out there. Grabbed away by Tongue. Tongue. Pump fake. Looking for Gunnaskera. Nice little jab step in the backfield. Sharp inside shot there. Carpenter on the far side. Carpenter guarded by Paul. Quick little fake. Back to Tongue. Tongue looking downfield for Wong. Instead, shooting to the end zone. People in the area. And who else? Oh, and in and out of the hands of Gunnaskera. Caught my words just in time there, as I was going to say, a chance at his third upwind break to his credit. Instead, in and out of the hands, and Ignite gift-wrapped another opportunity here to go downwind.
I think every player there that was involved there started looking at each other saying, hey, there's three of us, and no, light team, we got this, and kind of lost their focus.
Murray with it now, looking backfield for Wallace. Wallace scrambles up line, gets it there. Wallace, heavy pressure, and a turnover right on the goal line. Eclipse quickly hits it, floats it in. Gunnaskera makes good this time. 2 hands on the disc, 100% sure about that. And Ignite suffers an upwind break to start the second half. Clay, how devastating can that be for this young Ottawa unit?
That's a really tough one. And now we're seeing that lead get extended to 3 points. First time we've seen that this game. There was a good example of the run and gun working out when a wide open Gunnaskera was in the end zone there for an uncontested catch. You see Ignite, they're making their way back to the line. Heads are up by most players. Some are just, head down, the ones we've been seeing on the field a lot, considering, okay, how am I going to adjust? How am I going to respond here? But you're seeing lots of chit-chat amongst the players. They're not quiet with each other. They're not giving up or anything like that from their body language. It's just looking like business time.
Yeah, and talking to the Ottawa coaching staff, Seb Lebrec, Andrew Leach, Luca Lafontaine, they were talking about the split on the team as far as age. And I know we brought this up in yesterday's broadcast, but they described it as 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And they're talking a bit about, when they refer to that, they say 1/3 of the team graduating, 1/3 of the team just starting. with this unit, and 1/3 sort of middle-level players, middle age, I should say. And so it is a good building block. Of course, we'll be losing some key players next year, Clay, but at the same time, moving up 2/3 of their team for sure. And obviously, it's going to take on a few rookies next year, but a stable building block components for this Ignite team and seeing their first final in program history. Big pull from Carpenter. Knockdown, center to Kennedy. Kennedy, straight up field.
Another zone look from Eclipse.
Snap one through the middle there. That's LaFontaine. Tons of time and space. Goes back to Kennedy. Kennedy to Gallant on the sideline. Gallant snaps one into the middle to Lou. Nice throw there from Martin Gallant. Quick movement there. Lou with it in the middle. Looking around. Kennedy. Kennedy airs one out. Has a target in the area. Diving. Ruled out of bounds. Glenn Ford, observer for this game, right in the right spot there to be able to make a call. Great effort there as that one hung up just along the edge, but just not quite close enough.
That zone movement there from Ignite, that zone movement, looking pretty strong, making sure they move the disc right away as soon as that cup was about to set or had just set, instead of holding onto the disc for 6 stalls. Seemed to have much more success with that, getting it up the field, so perhaps an adjustment made during halftime.
Carpenter with the disc, tapped in by Gianni LaFontaine. Looking for something in the middle. High count. Well done to move it to the middle there. Lamb with it. Sam Lamb looking for Carpenter. Good powerful movement there from Thomas Carpenter. Shoots to Lung. Gets up and gets secured with 2 hands. Cutting in the lane. Samuel Lamb working to get open. Instead, Carpenter in the backfield. Calm, cool, collected. Sees a target going deep. Instead goes under. William Tang. Tang's going to shoot. Hanging up. Kennedy in the area. One-handed grab for the block.
With that win, probably a little late to make that shot.
Now it's in the hands of Mattia Fosco. Fosco on the far sideline looking for LaFontaine. Airs it out right up the sideline. LaFontaine, 2 hands on the disc. Looking for something across field. That's going to hang up and float. Nadeau, Carpenter over both of them. Well done by Carpenter to go up early. Draw Nadeau in.
We've seen that a few times from Carpenter here, is putting that pressure on Nadeau and making Nadeau go early.
Yeah, and certainly part of the game plan, I imagine, to neutralize some of the deep looks. Nadeau, so overwhelming in the other games as a deep receiver, hasn't really opened up this game. That's going to go out. One-handed grab, nice read there. Jason Ewan for Eclipse. Now staring down a fast break opportunity. Hangs up just a little bit too much. And again, the wind causing havoc for these teams as they try to punch in these goals, especially tightening up here as time on the clock ticks away. Lawson and Doe on the far sideline has a target. Instead, looks for Gianni LaFontaine. Goes back to Gallant, one hand on the disc. Nice reaction grab there. Upfield. Well received, Fosco. Fosco, options. Goes to Lou. Lou looking upfield. Stagnant and deep stack here from this Ignite unit. Fosco with it now, looking upfield. Has a target, Kennedy. Kennedy coming out of the stack, sees LaFontaine. Instead, liking Gallant up line. Pick called.
He's got Gallant around, though.
Yeah, Clay, it looks like some fatigued bodies for this Ignite team. Perhaps just not quite as deep. LaFontaine, under heavy pressure, makes a nice grab and calls a timeout immediately. Emphatic timeout call after the layout grab. And just, Clay, if we're going to take a second to talk about this offense from Ignite, certainly a lot of patience and a lot of good movement, but at the same time, just a little too deep in the stack. So, there's not very many options to hit, and therefore it's forcing the handler set. In that case, there was Lou, Gallant behind the disc, just trying to keep it alive, hoping for some of that cutter motion coming from the top.
Now, you are watching where the handlers are looking in that situation, though, and I'm wondering if they're beginning with a little bit of a dominator set moving into their vertical stack. Giving the handlers enough room to play around with moving the disc upfield so they can get more organic cuts off the vertical stack. However, when you're talking about this fatigue and that depth, if your handlers are tired at all, then we're just, they're not going to be able to get open on those cuts, and then we end up with this weird kind of stagnant look from Ignite there.
In any case, Ignite with the disc on the doorstep in this upwind end zone. Goals in the upwind can really turn things around, Clay. So we'll see if this sparks some life into this Ignite unit, if they can cash in. Gianni Lafontaine with the disc. Martin Gallant set up with a very wide bail position. Kennedy at the top of the stack. Looks like a little bit of a zone set here for Eclipse. An end zone. Always love seeing that. Looks like they're probably going to have to escape out of this really quickly. Gallant going into the backfield. Kennedy into the upfield. Options over the top. Hammer and out of bounds. The zone does its job there as it forced LaFontaine into a lack of options, and he goes for a Blady hammer over the top that gets pushed out of bounds by the wind.
I like that zone call once in a while. Yeah, I wouldn't do that every time. You're coming off a timeout and a red zone defensive look, but once in a while it can really kind of just jar the other team into thinking, oh, our whole strategy we talked about in our timeout isn't going to work now, and we'll just have to flow through. And with this wind and being that position of the field, it's very tight.
Carpenter upfield to Lamb. Sam Lamb here with it. Slipping is Carpenter, but a release valve option and an under, and just mishandled there.
Haven't seen the blown tires, the tripping too much today, but definitely on these fields this week we've seen a lot of change of direction stumbles.
Upline cut there from Gallant. Instead, Kennedy airs it out. Traffic in the area, and that's going to go out of bounds. Good effort there by both the defender, Carpenter, and the offender, Goodrich McLean, striking deep for that one, and just a little bit too much mustard on that shot up the upwind.
Yeah, once again we're seeing more shots from Wallace.
Carpenter jogging it up to the line. He's going to call a timeout.
Sorry, shots from Kennedy there.
Carpenter, hands on his knees. He's tired. Talk a little bit about Thomas Carpenter. Did play on the under-24 Canadian National Open team. An impressive run to a silver medal in Germany last month, I guess it would have been at this point. And obviously a strong team there, and he was the youngest player on that team. So definitely playing a different role here with this squad. Sort of a junior player in that under-24 level, learning the ropes, taking it all in, obviously still contributing at a high level, and then coming back here where he's really the go-to guy, especially on this Eclipse D-line.
Yeah. We've seen him play very intelligent. We were just talking about his defensive strategy and knowing who the big receivers for Ignite are, and has found a few ways to really lock them down, or at least nullify their roles. So showing some really good physical prowess, but also some really, mental concentration from Carpenter here.
Thomas Carpenter with the disc. Kennedy's going to be on the mark. Gallant and Fosco in a cup. See Goodrich McLean in the mid there. Carpenter around. Number 26, Wesley Choi. Choi goes upfield to Leung. Leung, high release backhand, uses that wind. Beautiful shot up the far sideline there.
Eclipse just able to move the disc through that zone so quickly and quite far.
Now they're all the way back on their own goal line. Leung, elevator backhand, looking for that give-go. Instead, it's Carpenter. Carpenter in the middle, Lamb on his left, Choi on his right. Leung with the disc now, looking upfield. Sharp shot up the sideline, well done. Wesley Choi with it now. Choi wanting something in the backfield. No real options, goes backfield Carpenter, well done. Lamb with it now in the middle. Lamb gaining some yards on the far side to Choi. Choi with some options. Instead, the Ignite zone cuts him off. Carpenter in the middle. Sharp blade over the shot right in the middle. Beautiful throw there. Jason Ewan, Eclipse off to the races. Ewan striking. Instead, settling it down, looking for Choi. Choi. Little give-go option. Instead, shut down by Gallant. Looking upfield is William Tang. Tang to the middle. Carpenter. Carpenter snappy inside break to Leung. Leung wiping his feet on the doormat. See if he can walk in the door here. High stall count situation. Patiently goes to Carpenter. Carpenter to the far side. Choi, layout grab. Ruled up. No discussion, and a big spike to boot. Eclipse taking this game to 10-6, and Clay, an absolute dagger for this Ignite offense that had so many chances in this upwind end zone.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see there that, they were a little bit frazzled by the different defensive looks that Eclipse was throwing, and then in their own zone, were really fronting the unders there, fronting the short passes and trying to take advantage of that wind. But after a lot of patience from Eclipse, they were able to put it over the top and break it wide open.
Yeah, and let's not forget that this game was 6-6.
Yeah.
And now it's 10-6. And that's just Eclipse going on an absolute terror of a run. And it's really been just better execution, And at this point, with the wind that there is, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be turnovers both ways. It's the team that comes out and just pushes through those, grinds through those turnovers, and earns themselves those goal line opportunities is the team that's going to accelerate into the lead. And right now, Eclipse doing just that. A very impressive show as they've just been relentless in cashing in here. 10-6 they lead in the second half of this Junior Open Final presented by Cliff Bar. And Clay, Eclipse has kind of done this all tournament, very steady. Definitely some mistakes there, but just willing to push through them, show great mental strength.
Sticking to the plan.
Yeah, and setting themselves up. A very impressive show at this point.
Yeah, I am rather familiar with one of the coaches on One Eclipse, David Stelk, and I know that he coaches consistency. He coaches his guys to learn a skill, get good at it, and then stick with it and concentrate. And I think that push for mastery is really paying off for Eclipse right now.
Yep. Zone here from Eclipse. Ignite slicing through it, getting around a half field. Wallace, Paul, Kennedy, Peterson. It's the unit out there right now for Ottawa. Peterson to the middle to Wallace. Wallace looking around. Opting for Peterson. Peterson to Murray. Keeler, rather. Keeler to Peterson, absorbing a little bit of contact there. Instead, looking upfield, snaps it through to Keeler. A little give-go Peterson. Nice movement there. Calms it down, sends it back to Wallace. Wallace with options downfield. High release. Peterson. Really nice patience offense.
Peterson sort of instrumental in breaking down that zone.
Wallace now looking for Asimovic. Instead, it's Kennedy. Absorbs a little contact. Wants it over the side. Instead, just patiently swings it back to Peterson. Peterson to Wallace. Wallace, two hands on the disc. Liking Keeler, but instead goes to Peterson. Paul making a slash cut. Looked off Kennedy. Kennedy, little floater. Great grab there. Keeler on the doorstep. See if they can catch this one out. High stall count situation. Goes to Wallace. Wallace right on the doorstep now to Keeler. Hangs it up. Call on the play as Keeler made the two-handed grab and kept his feet in. It's going to come back to Wallace. Not sure if there was either a pick or foul in the stack. Looks like it's coming back to Wallace now.
The observers signaled foul, and from what I can tell by the body language of Tongue there, I think it was a push-off on the cut.
Ian Wallace, sort of do-all for this offensive unit. Has the disc. Looks like it's going to be coming in at stalling 5. Logan Keeler, a little firecracker for this offensive unit. Injected here. Coming through the zone. Probably popping. Best we've seen all game.
So Glenn Ford pulling out the blue card. Looks like a TMF.
That could be either language or just physicality. Disc coming in at 5. Wallace with it in his hands. Fakes the high release. Not many options to go with. Hangs it up. Two hands on the grab is Goodrich McLean. Asimovic, rather. And this time it's Dion Paul towing the line for the goal. Really well done there. Dion Paul waggles it around. Celebrates there with the goal. And Ignite not going down easy. They now trail 10-7 to Eclipse.
Dion Paul, that is, remaining that rock for Ignite right now. Showing when the disc is in his hands, he can be trusted to keep that value, get the job done.
Stay tuned after this Junior Open Division Final for the Junior Women's Final. That's going to be featuring Mofo and Toro. Classic rivals in the Junior Women's Division. Mofo, of course, from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and Toro from Toronto, Ontario. Classic rivalry there. And in both these divisions, there's wide geographical representation in the semifinals, and that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see that cross-nation competitive fire. So you saw Ottawa teams in the semis, BC teams in the semis, and then of course Toronto unit and Winnipeg as well.
Toro came off a very hard-fought game against Wicked in the semi today. Lots of floaty throws, contested catches, lots of calls, but I feel like Toro's going to be coming in with a lot of energy into their final today. They got that big wind about 5 minutes in through the hard cap, that is.
Knight ready to pull here. Eclipse set to receive. Get a look at this offensive unit featuring...
Ignite's missing a player. I know what happens here.
Knight pulling with 6 players on the line. Don't know if they know that or if it was...
It is legal. You can have 6 on the field. You cannot put a 7th on after the pull.
Leung with it. Sorry, Tung. Tung playing some give-go there. Hangs one up into space. Great block there coming in on the blind side. Reads that disc really well. Was Lawson Nadeau going up strong for the block. Really well done.
Okay, shorthanded offense.
Snappy under. Received well from Goodrich McLean. Goodrich McLean with it now. Looking upfield. Oh, well done. Received by Gallant. Just reaching behind him for the grab. Snappy one there. This is Nadeau. Nadeau with targets downfield.
Now, I'll be honest with you, Kev. Watching a shorthanded offense here succeed, I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be playing zone in my mind. 6 on the field, and just out of the line there. As you saw Gabriel Olivier Fortier look up for Nadeau, and it just wasn't there. Carpenter calling for a deep shot. Sees Ryan Vijay Retman going. It's going to hang up. Oh, tries to go over the top with a nice grab.
Calls a foul. Does not call a foul. Takes it back.
That one's going to hang up. Dion Paul in the area. Goes up strong. Can't make it happen. 2 pressuring defenders there. That was Carpenter and Justin Tung. And Paul had a shot at that one for sure. Was in a great position, but great pressure as well with the Eclipse defenders. Paul tapping it in. Carpenter comes to the close side. Busser to Lamb to Tung. Tung floats one to the far side. Leung. Leung shoots this time. Time and space. Nice one-handed grab there. Number 87, Neo DeBrew, going up for his 2nd goal of the game. Feeling good about it too. Taking advantage of the short-handed Ottawa there. We'll have to make that a talking point in our next broadcast of how that happened. I don't know if that was a coaching mistake or if that was observer enforced. In any case, surely we'll have 7 on the line this time, but Eclipse making good and taking their lead 11-7. 4-point advantage remains. Eclipse from Vancouver leading Ottawa as Ignite 11-7 in this Junior Open Final presented by Cliff Bar on the VC Showcase Field at Ivor Dent Field Complex in Edmonton, Alberta. Clayton Howlett in the booth with myself, Kevin Underhill. We've been bringing you junior action all week. Clay, tomorrow we turn the corner and go to the adult division. That would be the Open and Women's, Master Women's, and Masters Men divisions. And then, of course, next week, go across the country to Brampton for the Mixed Division and Mixed Masters Division.
Mixed Masters.
Shout out to Clay playing in the Mixed Masters Division. But first, he's going to complete his job as a all-star broadcaster here for Ultimate Canada. Big pull from Gunaskera. It's going to hang, stay in bounds. Received by LaFontaine to Wallace in the middle. Another zone look here. LaFontaine playing a little catch with Wallace. Wallace looking over the top. No real options close to him. Nice little hanger. It's a nice grab by LaFontaine and then took a big hit, dropping the disc. Surely going to be a foul.
You see Ford already reaching into his pocket.
Yeah, Wesley Wong there with the hit over the top. Thought he had a shot at it. Couldn't really make a play on it without hammering LaFontaine there, as LaFontaine's going to stay with the disc, surely.
Yeah, it's awarded a TMF by Glenn Ford. One I would probably agree with.
Yep, definitely. Had a chance to probably pull up and not make that play, but of course, so much on the line, trying to make those decisions, and the observers are here to help educate and obviously enforce there, as you can see. That's something that he's not going to do next time, knowing that he put another player at risk, but also receiving the punishment card. So it's going to be LaFontaine's disc, going in the backfield directly, Wallace. Wallace looking downfield. Stifling zone from this team. Shot around, blown a tire there was the receiver. Number 83, Maxim Ayad, trying to get open. And instead, Gunaskara beckoning for his handler to come over and get it, and he jacks it right away, hanging up. Traffic in the area. Good read by Ottawa's Ayed. Kind of a huck-happy half here with the wind making them challenging conditions, Clay.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if we're starting to see some feelings of urgency from Ignite here. Down 4 points and feeling as if they got to score quickly to stay in this game.
Jason Ewan with a diving block there, giving a short turn. Hashimoto looking upfield. Diving grab there, saving possession. Wesley Choi. Choi looking around. Floaty and out of bounds out the side. Wind just pushing that one out. You know, the wind isn't overwhelming, but it's making everything a lot more challenging here.
Yeah, just enough. Just always putting it out of the reach of the receivers.
Great shot upfield.
A little.
Wallace with a nice sharp hit. Logan Keeler now with it. Keeler wanting something over the top, floats it through. Wallace all day to make that grab. Wallace around to Keeler. Logan Keeler. Back to Wallace. Wallace with targets downfield, but airs it out. Two receivers in the area. Wind pushing it down. Sure enough, knocks it down. Players getting tired, getting tight, throwing up really tough ones, you know, Clay.
Yeah. Can also be a sign of frustration.
Sure enough, here comes another one. Hashimoto, Wallace, Keeler, all in the area. Wallace goes up and picks it clean off the top of the cookie jar. Nice grab there. Looks like both Eclipse players go down in a little bit of a pile. Hashimoto indicating that he might be calling foul. Don't want to lose my over streak, but I can't imagine that's going to be a foul. He takes it back. Wallace establishing great position, going up and making sure by catching it. Jason Ewan also in the area, as well as Logan Keeler.
Glenn Ford getting everybody back in position at the time of the stoppage.
Ian Wallace here. It's going to be tapped in by Ryu Hashimoto. Wallace upfield to Kennedy. Kennedy, time and space, looking for something. Instead, wants Wallace up line. No help now. Airs it out into traffic. Multiple players in the area. CU comes down with it. Keeler goes over the top, and instead, nice defensive play there. Wesley Wong in the vicinity, knocking it down for Eclipse.
Rather clean contested catch.
And picked off by Kennedy. Heck of a catch block. Shoots straight to the end zone. LaFontaine. And I don't know if that was blocked or dropped, but
it was dropped.
Ottawa gives it right back after an amazing defensive play by Kennedy. LaFontaine collapsing. Upset, tired, but still in it at this point. 11-7. Eclipse leads this one. 87 minutes on the clock. Clay, we've talked about these two teams going toe-to-toe. Obviously, both have had great tournaments to lead them here. In the semifinal matchups, we saw Eclipse take down Mofo on the showcase field, and then right above us, Toro getting dethroned as the champs of Ontario by this Ottawa Ignite team. Just played a heck of a game in that semifinal. We were able to tune into the very end and get updates throughout the time. Very well deserved, both these teams to be in this final. And like we talked about, Eclipse, potential chance at revenge as they lost in last year's final to Toronto, returning several players and the coaching staff and looking for this big win here.
Right. In the chances I've had to speak to the Eclipse coaching staff or the players, the one attitude I received was, we're going to fix the mistake from last year. So I think you've hit the nail on the head there. They're coming in with not a chip on their shoulder, but a definite sad memory from last year and wanted to right that wrong.
Yeah, nothing like a big loss to push some motivation for next season, and they're really showing it here. It's been a bit sloppy in this point, but Eclipse has been the better executing team in this game. Disc going to come in.
Zone set.
Right near the cone. Tough wind to deal with. This is a tricky place to have it. Options upfield, Hashimoto. Hashimoto asking for a double team there. Big zone, taking away a lot of the options. You playing a little give-go. Wesley Choi on the far side there. GU splashing through, and that one's going to hang up. Oh, great throw right up the middle there. Jason Ewan finding a little real estate. Now it's Gunaskara. Now it's fast break time for Eclipse. Gunaskara getting it back. He shoots the end zone to GU, hanging up, knocked away. Great defensive pressure there.
Foul called by you.
Lawson Nadeau, and GU's going to say he had it. There's going to be a discussion. Contested by number 25, Mesha Edwardson. Edwardson was right there and made a heck of a play on that. You calling for the contact, and it's just a simple foul contest at this point. Eclipse with it at the doorstep here. This is Choi. To Gunaskara. Gunaskara looking for an upline shot. Instead floats it to the middle. Nice hands there. Wesley Wong. Wong to Gunaskara. Gunaskara asking for something. Instead, nope, ignores his bail, hangs it up. Gonna be a 7-person pile up as this one drifts back. Great grab there, pulls it out over a pile of people, had a great read on it. Maxime Ayad was the one with the block, and he just juices it deep downwind.
Gunaskara running down there and trying to get the delay of game on.
Kennedy hustling down on Gunaskara. Gunaskara looking for Choi. Hits Choi in the middle. Blocked! And flipped in for the goal. Ayad with a pair of blocks and flips it through. Looks like there's a bit of a discussion there. Maxime Ayad blasting through and intercepting that one. Quick flip to Kennedy, and they're just going to talk about this for a second.
Seems there was a foul called on that block. The observer signaling a stoppage almost immediately.
And Clay, definitely as the stakes get high in the finals, you do start to see some calls come out. Not saying that that's the way to do things, but obviously everything's just tooth and nail. Everything is so close that these players.
Absolutely. When you're in a final and you want that trophy, you want that win for your team. These little calls, whether they can be ticky-tacky or they can be pretty major, it's really difficult for anyone to keep their head in check and make the exact right call.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're competing this hard for a win.
Yeah, and certainly there, Choi feeling the pressure from behind, whether or not he actually had it in his hands. It looks like it is going to be contested and sent back to the thrower. So it's going to be Gunaskara with the disc, despite the terrific effort there by Maxime Ayad. Ayad a pair of blocks already on this point, and no bigger than that one would have been. Gunaskara with the disc, Kennedy on the mark. Gunaskara looking upfield to Choi. Instead, wants GU in the middle. Edwardson was split. Looks like kind of a switchy person-to-person coverage here. Kennedy's on Gunaskara. Nice little upline shot there. Big undercut there. Nice yards by Wesley Wong. Wong looking to Hashimoto. Hashimoto on the close sideline. Another beautiful undercut. That's number 24, GU. Yu calling a foul there on the catch. Doesn't feel like it's going to be contested. Good, solid, open side undercutting here.
Yep.
Hashimoto looking upfield. No real options. Asking for something. Snaps a little insider there. Choi with it now. Pops one up there. Hashimoto earning some space and just a little miscommunication and a drop from GU, giving Ignite another chance to go down. You can't help but feel like if Eclipse can punch this upwind or in, it's over, but just keep on giving Ignite an opportunity here. Keeler on the close sideline. Logan Keeler looking backfield instead. No real options. Fake sequence goes back to Wallace. Wallace covered by GU. Wallace wanting something up line. Looks like there might be a pick downfield. Surely Mesha Edwardson was wide open. Whether or not it was a... Looks like it's going to be a pick. Disc is going to go back to Wallace. Choi was picked as he was covering Edwardson there. Resolved quickly. Ian Wallace with the disc coming in at 6. GU set to tap it in. Taryn Ross on the bail position, diving for a nice catch. Ross now snapping a little inside to LaFontaine. LaFontaine, the shooter, instead hangs onto it. Big time fakes. Finds Wallace with some yards. Wallace, Kennedy, nice stab there. Sees LaFontaine. Upline, Gianni LaFontaine flips it for the goal. Logan Keeler cashes in. Well done there. Ottawa Ignite is fired up because they stay in this game. They trail 11-8 at this point. Going up win. You can't help but feel like a combo break would be all they need to get right back in this one. Gianni LaFontaine surely feels good as he had a chance with the disc in his hands earlier in this point, and that time he flips it to Keeler for the goal. So making amends a little bit for his earlier mistake. At this point, Clay, with the points taking this long, that's advantage Eclipse, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. You were saying earlier, if this game was tight and stayed tight, we'd see a lot more energy out of Ignite and everything. As Eclipse kind of pulled away with it, they seem to have been in control of this game, but Ignite not going away. We've seen LaFontaine has really turned on the Jets here. I think after that turnover, he really wants it back, and that point just kind of exploding on the field there. So win, still a little bit of a factor here. Fairly gusty right now.
It's been like this all week. We've seen, periods of still, but, there's been a lot of wind on this open field site. No surprises there. The adult divisions will have to prepare themselves, and hopefully they're prepared to handle that sort of gusty cross breezes being most days. Austin Yen scurrying over to pick it up. He's going to tap it in at the brick mark. On his flank, it's Ma and Leung.
Zone defensive look by Ignite.
Yen with it now. Looking upfield to Leung. Leung gaining some yards on the open side. Now it's Ma. Ma. Faking, throwing backfield. Leung back to Ma. Earning a little bit of space back. Shot a little inside there. Yen with it. Austin Yen. Carpenter. Sort of lost it there, but made a nice grab. That was Samuel Lamb.
Seeing that poise again from Eclipse against his own defense.
Yen now shooting to the end zone. Target in the area. No problem for Ryan Vijay Aretnam. Beautiful grab there as he's been a deep receiving target. Made some clutch grabs. Potentially none more important than that little one-handed stab. Reestablishing that 5-point advantage. 4-point advantage, rather.
Yeah, as long as Eclipse continues to stay true to their plan, even when those mistakes happen, as they do for them, they'll be able to maintain this lead, I believe. As in these conditions, we can kind of say mistakes are going to happen, but as long as Eclipse doesn't panic and keeps their wits about them, they've shown that they have no problem trading with Ignite, and with that 4-point lead, it'll be hard to make up now.
Yeah, and Clay, at this point, safe to say backs are against the wall for Ottawa.
I would say so.
And if I'm the Ottawa coaching staff, I'm loading it up. and I'm not taking my studs off the field for the rest of the game. I'm, of course, an advocate for spreading the field, giving everyone some looks. But at this point, at the very end of the season, with the season and the championship on the line, got to go with your guns here, down by 4. Have to make quick work here as well. Carpenter all set to pull. He's played pretty much every D point and many an O point as well. Strong player out of Vancouver, BC. Leading this Eclipse D-line through a fantastic tournament up to this point. Big pull there, airs it out. That's going to get a little wind under it. It's going to sail and sail and sail. Looks like it might drift out of bounds. Catches a late gust, sails
eventually.
Up. Excited fans over there on the hillside. Great turnout for this Junior Open final, Clay. As it always is, an exciting game, an exciting day as we head into the Junior Women's Final after this. And hundreds of players, spectators, friends, and family on site here. Great to see. And hundreds more tuning in, and we thank you very much for watching. Let's get back to the action here. So you see Murray with the disc, flipping to the far side. Ian Wallace, a little blade over the top. Great grab there. LaFontaine keeps his feet in bounds. Looking upfield. LaFontaine flips it back to Wallace. Wallace, ever so steady in the backfield. Peterson now. Peterson, no real options, goes to Murray on the open side. Murray, facing a stiff wind and even a stiffer zone. Lost his options. Facing a potential double team, no call, and it's just going to be a stall down. Discouraged, Murray hangs his head, but now he scampers back on D. LaFontaine covering Carpenter here. Nadeau in the bail. Carpenter shoots deep. Pressure in the area. Huge grab there. Gunaskera goes up and gets it. Excuse me. That is Neo DeBrew. What a grab and an absolute clutch moment for that young man. Going up early, absolutely stabbing it and maintaining control through ground contact. Neo DeBrew, his 3rd goal of the game, and an absolute dagger here if you're Ottawa, having to face that.
Yeah, that's a hard one to watch if you're Ignite right now, because you see that, and to see a big play like that and then go down 5, knowing that your opponent is only 2 points away from the championship, it is very, very difficult to stay positive right now. Just got confirmation that soft cap is going to go on at 5:15 local time, which is in 5 minutes. But with the high score being 13 right now, it's safe to say that this is going to be well, right now anyway, it is a game to 15.
Yeah, and Eclipse, the stronger side today, and at a certain point, especially in big games, sometimes you need big-time players stepping up, and you've seen already Ryan, VJ Retnam, a couple of great grabs, Neo DeBrew with a few, Tyler Gunaskera with a few, and it's just those big-time plays at clutch moments that separates right now Eclipse from Ignite. And we saw yesterday Ignite defeat Vortex in a great game as well, and they made the big plays in that game.
Yeah.
Definitely capable of doing it. We'll just have to see if they can rise to the occasion here, step up, and make it happen. 13-8. Eclipse leads. Carpenter with a big pull. Huge outside in. Floating. Going to stay in bounds. Bounces. Really nice. Peterson trying to field that one, running into a bit of trouble, and he's going to walk that up to where it went out of bounds on the sideline. Beautiful pull there. Carpenter with that. Using the wind to his advantage. Disc's going to be tapped in on the cone. Gunaskera covering Peterson. Peterson, coffin corner, going straight upwind into the teeth of the defense. No real options. Snaps it back to Wallace. Wallace looking upfield now, evaluating his options, and just airs it out, and that one's going to hang up. It's going to stay in bounds for the majority of the field, but it's going to drift into those friendly spectators on the far side who give a cheer as well. It's going to be out just by the brick mark, roughly. Thomas Carpenter with a chance to tap this one in. He's going to slowly walk up and allow his team to settle into position. He's got number 20, Vinto Liu, in the bail. Carpenter has no eyes for his bail at this point. Now he looks for Liu. A little over the top, nice grab. Vinto Liu looking upfield. Sees Yu. GU, 2 hands on the disc, nice grab. And Yu, wanting to shoot to the end zone, goes up line. Carpenter, 2 hands on it. Right on the doorstep here. Pressuring. Looking in the backfield. Has Hashimoto covered tightly there by Peterson. Instead, swings it around. Liu to Hashimoto. And Eclipse delivers another goal. They lead 14-8 now.
Within
Huge
one.
lead. And Clay, we talked about this earlier, but it was 6-6 in this game. And I think the big difference is just consistency and big plays. We've talked a little bit about that already in the last few minutes, but they're just consistent offense, no turns, marching it all the way up for another break and capitalizing on the downwind end zone.
Yeah, exactly. We know these mistakes are going to happen, but I'd say Eclipse mistakes to successes are the successes are definitely outweighing the mistakes right now, while Ignite just struggling a little bit more with a few more drops, a few more floaty hucks and throws going out of bounds here, and Eclipse just has been able to capitalize while Ignite is struggling to do so.
Eclipse now going into a stiff wind. We'll see if Ignite can march down an O-point and go on a little run of their own. At this point, Clay, it's score or go home for Ignite.
That's right.
And their backs are against the wall. They're going to have to go on a 7-goal run. Not impossible, but certainly unlikely, as Eclipse seems to have a pretty good handle on this championship match.
Yeah, and you got to think about emotions too and where the focus is. Eclipse might chomp at the bit here and rush it a bit, but you can tell they're positive, they're excited, they're hungry, while, as you said earlier, Ignite's feeling pretty up against the wall right now, might be a little tentative, might be a little nervous. So, a real tough state to play in.
Disc in the middle in the hands of Ian Wallace. Flips it outside, Peterson. Peterson back to Wallace, a little no-looker. Wants Paul over the top instead. Wallace is going to go back to Peterson looking for Murray. Murray now in the middle, go to Peterson. Peterson, quick on the movement there. Murray wants to go around instead. Peterson to Wallace. This zone has caused trouble all game long here. Wallace stepping, beautiful play there. Paul dragging his check out and flipping to Murray. Now a little give-go opportunity.
Yeah, I think we've seen with Ignite that holding on to the disc for a long time has really hurt them against this zone, while Eclipse has been the opposite, moving the disc really quickly, and Ignite's zone never really got a foothold on them. So, turnover there.
Hear the soft cap go on there. No real changes here. They shoot to the end zone. Carpenter tracking that one down. No real option to make a play. He's going to call a foul. Tough to tell if he was going to be able to make a play on that one. He definitely got tangled up with Wallace. Looks like there's going to be no contest there. Wallace definitely feeling a little of the contact as well, because they're going to talk about this one. Looks like it's going to be Carpenter's disc as he walks it up. No contest. Carpenter's disc at the front of the end zone with a chance to end the game.
Yeah, Wallace must have felt that he really tripped him up there.
Carpenter looking upfield. To Tongue. Ruled inbounds.
Goal.
And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2019 Canadian Ultimate Championship winners, Eclipse from Vancouver, dismantling Ottawa's Ignite in the final. They win 15-8. And Clay, just overall better performance by Eclipse in this game.
I'd say so.
No doubt a worthy champion.
Yeah, more consistency, better adjustments on offense, responding to the conditions, and the defensive looks from Ignite. While Ignite seemed to have one plan for a lot of Eclipse's defense that didn't work out, and just unfortunately a lot more drops and not so harder throws.
The Eclipse team getting a jovial celebration from the crowd and their sister team as well. Of course, their sister team knocked out in quarters, a heavy favorite to make the championship game. So a huge, crazy story there on the girls' side. But right now, it's about these junior boys. Eclipse with an absolutely dominating and thorough performance. Really impressive here. So we're going to wrap it up and take you offline, but make sure to stay tuned as we're going to bring you Mofo against Toro in the junior women's final in less than an hour's time from Ivor Dent Sports Park here at the VC Showcase Field. The Junior Open Division final presented by Cliff Bar goes to Vancouver's Eclipse. From Clay Howlett, I'm Kevin Underhill. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we're going to see you next time. 45 minutes, we have the junior women's final. Stay tuned.